It's Marcel from Brainstorm Brewery, here with Marshall Sutcliffe, the man, the myth, the legend. We know him from Limited Resources, and now you know him on the coverage. He's on the official team. Let us know how the whole trip was and moving on up to the whole new world.
Oh, it was a big transition for me. I was doing the podcast Limited Resources, like you just mentioned. I was doing that for a couple of years, and it's been good. We get a lot of listeners, and things are really going good with it. It feels like it's like this solid thing that's kind of there now. And I kind of wanted to get on the coverage team, but I didn't really make it like a personal goal. I wasn't like working towards it in the sense of like, what can I do to position myself? I wasn't doing any of that stuff.
Gotcha.
And I became friends with BDM. We both love the draft. It's like our addiction, and so we share that, and we started chatting and stuff like that. And I went down to play in a GP in Austin, and I did good. I did well. I went to day 2. I top 64'd it. I was really happy about it. And BDM was doing coverage with Richard Hagan down there. And after I was done, he's like, nice job. He's like, hey, do you want to come? You want to come in the booth and cover a couple of rounds with me and Rich? And I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. I'm like, sweet. So I hopped in there. It went real well. We had some good chemistry. I felt real comfortable in front of the camera, and microphones never bothered me or anything like that. So it went well. And they said, hey, Greg Collins, who runs the coverage here for Wizards of the Coast, he happened to be there as well. And he's like, hey, you interested in doing these things? And I'm like, yeah, I'm real interested. And so I started doing GPs. I did my first GP in Seattle in March.
Yes,
and and it went really well. Again, it was with BDM. I mean, he makes it easy. Like, BDM's just such a pro that, even somebody like me who had never done any video work before just made me look good. He just makes it easy for you. Anyway, it went really well. We got a good reaction out of it, and I got an email a couple of weeks later, and they said, hey, do you want to do Pro Tour coverage? And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, I will see you in Barcelona. And so the ball's just been rolling since then. Sometimes I just wake up and I'm like, how did I get here again? Yeah.
So how hard was the transition coming from a podcast to this, and what are the differences that you noticed that you got to adjust to?
So there's the transition for me wasn't that hard. I don't know why. Like, I've never been afraid of cameras or microphones. I don't get that. You know how some people like look at a camera like I'm doing right now, and they get that feeling that you're just like, and yeah, and I don't know why that's never happened. So I'm just lucky for that part. So that part wasn't bad, but there is a big difference when it's live and when people can see you. It's a bigger audience, so you get people that are going to criticize you. You get people that, I generally get a lot of praise. I'm really happy for that. The people that watch, they'll be really cool to me and be like, hey, you did a good job. And I got to say, that kind of support like builds your confidence, and it makes you want to go out there and do more. But still, you're out there, you're in front of everybody. And I think people that watch coverage often don't remember that like the people on coverage listen to the things that other people say. So they'll just make like remarks and stuff, and
troll you to death.
They'll troll you to death. And I've been lucky so far. Like, I'm kind of waiting for the other side to fall on the troll hammer, and just get bashed on. I'm sure once I screw something up really bad, I'll get it. But, I've got a little bit here and there, but it's been fine. But I think that's the main difference, is just that, like, back here at the Pro Tour level events, this is professional stuff. Like, this is like ESPN quality coverage. There's people running around you all the time, making sure you're looking right. They're putting microphones on you and fixing your hair, and they're calling you the talent. I'm like, yeah. How
do you feel about that label?
The talent. I've embraced it.
Marshall the talent. They're going to make a planeswalker.
Yeah, there you go. And, so it's a lot different than when I do the podcast with John Laux, when I do Limited Resources, I'm sitting in my living room. I got an Arnold Palmer sitting there. I'm,
slippers on,
feet up, pants off, and we're doing the show, and I just have a good time with it, And here it's a lot more intense. You got to get it right the first time. There's no messing around, and for me, it's just been a big transition to learn the industry. I have a story. You want to hear a story?
Yeah, please, let us know.
Okay, so It's just like me and you. So Zach Hill, he's on the coverage team too. He's also in Wizards of the Coast R&D. Yeah. He came into the same time I did. So him and I have kind of paired off, and we've been helping each other kind of get used to all this stuff, because there's a whole lot of things that they don't teach you necessarily when you do video work, like hand signals. And, like they'll use this one to say wrap up, or they'll give you 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And, these are things that you just don't know inherently, but you learn pretty quickly. Well, Zach and I were on the booth, and they had a big judge call out in the field, okay? And so when they have a big judge call like that, what it means is the round goes a little bit longer. So we were just talking and filling in the space between the next rounds, and they needed us just stretch that time out. And the symbol that they use for that is they go like this. They say stretch. Okay, we had never seen this before. So one of the guys, the producer guys, comes up and he's like, stretch, you know? And Zach and I are like, are we sitting too close together? So we both go like this. And we move apart. Because that's the only thing that him and I can figure out what's going on here. And, you know, we were starting to get a little lost. And we were doing a pretty good job of just talking, because Zach and I could talk about Magic forever, like secrets out. But eventually, Richard Hagan, who, by the way, is just a consummate professional. This guy knows everything back there. It's insane. Anyway, he came up because he could tell that we were kind of like wondering what was going on, and he gave us the big animated stretch. I'm like, oh, and then moved back over to Zach, and then we finished out the segment.
So how do you think you could increase your talent or make you take your coverage to the next level?
Well, you know, since this is my second big coverage gig, I've done quite a few GPs now, but this is my second time doing the Pro Tour level one. It's really given me a much better feel for where I stand as far as my strengths and weaknesses. And I think my biggest weakness right now, and the area I'm going to look to improve, is two things. The first one is knowing all the players, knowing their names, knowing their histories, knowing that stuff. You know, I came back to the game 3 or 4 years ago. I didn't follow it that other time. You can ask Rich Hagan anything, and he's like an encyclopedia. I'm not. I just don't know all these things yet. The people I've played against, the people I've covered, I tend to remember, but the other guys, I'm just like, I don't know who this person is, you know? So I kind of want to build up my knowledge base on that a little bit. The other thing that I think I could use some work on, you know, there's sometimes when you need to talk to the camera just one-on-one. I do pretty well in conversational situations. I'm very comfortable talking to people like you, Marcel, or if we have a guest in, or if Zach's with me in the booth. But there's sometimes that I need to deliver some information to the listeners about what's going on with the round, who won, who lost. And like, I watch Rich do it, and it's like amazing. Like, he's excited, he knows all these extra information, he knows the people's names, he just racks it off like it's nothing off the top of his head. And then I get up there, and I mean, I'm basically reading the sheet, you know? I'm like, well, what I have here is this guy beat this guy, and this guy beat this guy, and this guy beat this guy. You know, but Rich can throw in it, you know, national champion, this guy beat 4-time top 8 competitor, this guy, you know, and he can just add this extra flair to it that I just don't have that ability yet.
This comes with time and then eventually build it up.
I mean, I might have to work towards it, I might have to practice it, I don't know yet. You know, I'm just, like I said, I'm just sort of starting to really get a feel for what I can do and what I can't here.
Okay. So what about conflicts? I remember you saying you wanted to go to the GP San Jose and that you might be not able to do that because you got to do the coverage. Mm-hmm. Is that something that's going to become a problem in the future? Or?
Well, so update on that, I'm going.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so me, John Laux, and Zane Begg are a team, so we're going to be there. So I'm happy about that. But it's really interesting because this whole thing coincided with when I first started to really get into the whole GP thing. You know, that Austin GP was my third one. I believe my third GP ever, and I started to really build my confidence. Like I said, I day 2'd it pretty easily. It was a limited GP, so it's kind of like what I want to do. I finished top 50 in the thing, and you know, I felt like I could have done better, and I was starting to get that kind of like, I'm going to start doing this. And then all of a sudden the coverage thing landed in my lap, and I had to make a decision. And I mean, I made the decision to do the coverage because it just makes a lot of sense. Like, I get to come out to these things anyway. You know, I do get paid for it, so there's that too, where, you know, going to GPs, it's hard to make money going to GPs as a player, you know, like breaking even is a pretty lofty goal even. So, you know, I decided that I was going to go for the coverage stuff. I want to do this stuff anyway. I have a great time. The coverage guys are all awesome. I decided to do that. Now I got to try to fit in the GPs where I can, because I still consider myself a competitive player kind of on the rise. You know, I've been getting better and better and better, and I'm really looking to try to make a name for myself at the GP level right now, and not being able to play in very many of them kind of hurts the chances. So, yeah, it's a give and a take.
Okay, what's your favorite part of doing coverage? I remember I saw you doing the deck tech with John Finkel, and that was really cool how you guys went.
Yeah.
What is your favorite segments you like working on?
Easily my favorite part is being in the booth. You know, doing the actual play-by-play coverage of the games is the part that I love the most. I love the tension of, okay, we have this on one side and this on one side. What is going to happen, right? Like, is this guy going to punt? You know, is this guy going to steal a game in a matchup that he really shouldn't steal a game? I love watching the limited parts of that because I love to see what people come up with. You know, I have a pretty good feel for the people in my area and how I draft, but, you know, people take pretty different lines on it. I like to see what they do, and that's easily my favorite. My second favorite is what you were saying, doing like deck techs and things like that. Talking technical card stuff, strategy, that's what I love to do.
Yeah, I mean, you do such a great job on limited resources.
Thank you.
Anyone that doesn't listen, you need to if you want to step up your limited game, like really That's where it's at. You guys hit it on the nose.
I appreciate that.
So, besides limited, what's some of your favorite formats to play?
Modern.
Modern?
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, I play all of them. I have a Legacy deck. I even have a Commander deck now. But Modern is easily my favorite constructed format, and that's because it just feels so wide open. You know, Standard is like really wide open, and then like after a little while, you get all these tournaments every weekend, and then it's like, okay, we've got it pretty pared down. It's not that it's like stale, but it just gets to be a little bit like that. And Modern just feels totally wide open, and one of my favorite decks of all time, Rug Delver, is viable in that format, and I love that deck.
Nice. So say someone wants to transition into coverage. I know like Scotty Mack of the A-Team, he was talking about he wanted to be part of the GP Vancouver.
Yeah.
PT Vancouver, I'm sorry.
PT Montreal.
Montreal.
Yep.
Excuse me, guys.
No worries.
So what would you recommend to say someone that wants to aspire to be on the coverage team?
You know, that's an interesting question. I mean, I didn't, since I wasn't aspiring, I mean, I was interested, but I wasn't aspiring to do it. It kind of fell in my lap. I'm not really sure. I think a few things that you need to do are establish yourself in the community. And that's sort of twofold. One thing, you have to do something. Do what you're doing. You know, you're doing interviews, you make your awesome videos. We do a podcast, me and John. You know, that gets your face out there. Also, though, you need to kind of get your personality out there a little bit. I know that can be hard to do, but the coverage guys got to know that you're personable and that you can get along. I mean, if you're fussy or if you do it, there's no room back there. It's tight. There's a whole lot of tension. You know, it's tight deadlines, and it's not the kind of thing that you want to put somebody into that's going to be
can't handle the pressure.
That'll crack or get really angry or whatever under the pressure.
Gotcha. So how did you feel about this whole World Magic Cup and just Gen Con in general?
Well, this is my first time coming to Gen Con.
Oh, okay. Mine too.
So, was it? Yeah, so
it
we're both West Coasters, so this is a little bit of a trip for us. But, man, it was a little overwhelming. I mean, this convention is massive, and all I've really done is walked through it. I think there's good things and bad things about having the World Magic Cup here at Gen Con. I think the good things are the exposure. I mean, you look around in the room that we're in right now, and it's huge, and there's Magic things everywhere, and everybody's got these things. You know, there's just a big presence for Magic here, and that is fantastic. It also shows off what is really becoming our marquee event as well, which is the World Magic Cup. It has the biggest range and exposure for everything. The downsides to it are that, you know, our pro tours are private now. We don't it's not a public event like where there's all these side events going, and that's pretty nice from the coverage perspective. I know it's not the most popular decision for the players because people like going to these big events, but when you're doing the coverage, it lets you just stick to the plan and do the best we can for coverage. And when you're here, I mean, there's so much going on here.
If you want to draft, you got people inviting you to queues.
You want to play EDH with me? You know, let's go draft. I brought my Innistrad deck. You know, it's just like, oh man. And you want to do all that stuff, but you know, trying to get food, trying to meet up with the people you need to meet up with, dealing with things like the getting to the hotel. It definitely adds an extra layer to it, just having all these people around. But overall, I think it's probably worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, buddy.
Appreciate it. You got anything else you want to say to the people where they can reach you at, Marcel?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Marshall_LR. That's it.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you.